Hey everybody, and welcome to the second part of our CK3 series, The Road to Rome. And in our first part, our first character, Gaius Junius, died from cancer at the age of like 40 something. And now this leader, Quintus Junius, is now going to take over as our second leader. However, he is a child, and so due to that, we can't really do much except for just do basic contracts like what we're doing right now, which is artifact delivery. And so we're going to wait until he's either an adult or we get some work opportunity. And actually, just right after that transport mission, we get what seems like a work opportunity. It really isn't worth it in the long run, but I didn't know that. You know, hindsight is awesome, but we didn't have hindsight at this point. So we joined the Byzantine Civil War in support of the Emperor, who only had like 700 troops. I think you can kind of see where this is going. At least get a general idea. I mean, like, if you're thinking that I'm going to lose, well, sort of. It's weird. But we raise our army after joining on the side of the Byzantines, and we get our mercenary army ready to go. And we just send them straight into Anatolia. And during this, we come of age. And of course, we're doing martial because we're a war. So I think that makes sense. And we're also a soldiers for hire. So yeah. And now that we've come of age, I'm taking control of the army, and as you saw a little bit ago, 36 advantage we got on our commander, which is that's crazy. Actually, our second character being that good at 16, but we land and we immediately get to sieging the enemy capital in hopes of capturing an heir or something like that to turn the war in our favor. But these sieges are going to take a ridiculously long time and a ridiculous amount of manpower, which we will have to source from volunteers whenever stuff gets dire enough. But you know, first thing, you know, we did capture the son and heir of our enemy. But it didn't really do that much for our war score, so we just have to keep doing more and more sieges. But of course, we also need to recover our troops. So first off, I start with recovering troops through provisions. But I mean, I didn't even see this whenever I was actually playing, but I just saw that number or how much we would have gotten. Also, yeah, I ransomed the son and heir since it didn't give us much war score. I might as well just take the money, but like 50 gold to restore our army after that siege, and it's like, that's more than we got paid during the war, so it's already not looking great. We're going to go down and serve the crown. Not sure why I did that. It would have made a lot more sense to go down the strategist path, but again, hindsight is awesome, but you don't have it in the moment. So, and this is where it gets really bad. We start seeking volunteers and doing that kind of stuff, when in reality we probably should have just surrendered. But I'm stubborn, so I didn't give up whenever it was pretty obvious already that the Byzantines were gonna lose. I mean, dude, look at how outnumbered we are. But I'm like, you know what? I can turn this around. And so I try to approach the horde of enemy troops, and we battle them in the city of Lydia, and we did have some decent success in the beginning of the battle, but we're just kind of we're just so outnumbered that even that little success that we had at the beginning where it looked like we were winning didn't really matter, because yeah, like I said, we're just so outnumbered. So I retreat from that, and we lost even more troops, so we're gonna have to seek more volunteers. And this pattern of seeking volunteers, instead of just saying, hey, we lost the war and throwing in the towel, costs us quite a lot of prestige and will cause issues later. And it was kind of an interesting amount of issues. If I were to go back, maybe I would make the same mistake again, because I feel like it was interesting to go from that really low prestige level back up. But now we're in a second battle of Lydia where we're trying to defeat them again. And this time it's going a lot better so far. And my goal with these battles wasn't necessarily to win them, but more to just cause mass casualties to the enemy, and then refill our troops and then do it again until we can win. So in the second battle, I think we got pretty close to winning, but we didn't win the battle quite yet. And then we retreat, and we're going back up there once again. But the chances are pretty bad this time. So, yeah. So instead of just trying to go and attack them or anything like that, we're just trying to find a good spot to lure them in to a defensive spot. And my idea, it was that mountain fort there, but we weren't able to get to it in time, so I just waited at those hills, and the idea was just to get some favorable terrain. But once again, yeah, we're just so outnumbered, it doesn't matter. And so we are pushed back yet again, and this time I don't even think we really did that much damage. And honestly, looking at all of those battles, we really didn't do that much damage overall. And again, I should have just thrown in the towel, but I didn't. Which is going to lead to some interesting outcomes, especially now that we're basically out of money. But once again, we try to face off with the enemy army. And honestly, it's a little annoying that the AI didn't at least send a little bit of help our way. You know, if we had those extra like 700 Byzantine troops, we maybe could have done something with that. But anyways, we get into another battle with the AI. And this time, they actually send in troops quite early. And instead of taking a little bit of loss before their main force gets in, they take a lot of losses. And so I was thinking maybe we'd win this battle, but no. We're just, again, so outnumbered. Our army quality isn't good enough to overcome that yet. And it's time for yet another battle against them. And this time, the enemy's troops are busy sieging, and I guess they have a little bit of a brain for it, and they don't reinforce. So we actually are going to be able to drive the enemy out just for a little bit. And after driving the enemy out of their capital area, I was thinking, man, this war might actually be winnable. Because, you know, after losing that many battles, I was like, doesn't really seem possible to. And there's also this, like, monthly replacement of troops or whatever, I think it was. Or, no, it was getting troops from sieges that just didn't seem to work. It's like an adventurer perk in the martial path we chose. I just wanted to mention that because has anybody else experienced that where they just, some of the adventurer boosts just straight up just don't work. Like, I'm not sure why. But yeah, it starts looking like we're gonna win this war, and also we go lunatic, so not great, but it doesn't actually affect a whole lot. But you can say that maybe this lunacy contributed to what's about to happen, and that's what I'm gonna go with. But you'll see what I'm talking about, because this war is not turning around anytime soon, actually. And after some more sieges, we are once again met with the enemy's forces. And so they immediately just go into battle, and it doesn't look like we're going to win because they're just sending in everything against us. And even after putting up a good fight, we lose the battle against the enemy. And at this point, I have to change war alignment. You know, I should have just really just gave up and like disbanded my troops and just let them lose. But I was like, I have to win some sort of war, and we're gonna blame this guy's lunacy on him flip-flopping in this civil war. So we suddenly go from the super loyal mercenary group, or kind of Roman legion, to now we're helping the usurpers usurp the throne. And so we basically just go back and liberate the territory that we occupied before. And now after liberating our provinces, it's time to go and, I mean, not our provinces, but you know what I mean. After liberating some territory, it's time to try to attack the actual Byzantine territory to gain some war score and try to just end this war as soon as possible. Because look at that prestige. Negative 2700 is ridiculous. So I get into this battle with, I guess, another revolt that's going on and lose because we're just super outnumbered. And again, it's just, that battle was really bad. I remember that one of the battles was super bad. Yeah, it was that one where we lost like over half our force. So now with so few troops and me not really wanting to constantly scrape the barrel as much, we just move north and go and support our allied troops in trying to capture areas, I guess, sort of near Constantinople and stuff. However, my allies move east to occupy parts of Pontus, and the Roman army moved east. So I took advantage of that and sieged down some stuff in the west, and eventually that made the emperor capitulate, meaning a new emperor. And so we finally return home with negative 3,300 prestige, and we still have a lot of troops to recover, which we just used like all of our food to try to recover some of that. But yeah, we used pretty much all of our resources on that civil war, and it was not worth it at all. This was kind of like whenever I realized it's not. Eventually we gotta settle down because this adventurer life is, your army can only get so powerful, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And that was kind of a clear demonstration of that, where it's like, we finally fought a bigger force and we just got bodied for the most part. We put up a fight, but we mainly got bodied. But we get back home, like I said, and we're just doing regular old contracts for some money to try and rebuild everything that we lost, including our prestige. And I'm also taking some of the gold to upgrade our proving grounds, because also after that war, I realized that my army quality is somewhat lacking, so I started building up the proving ground stuff in order to get some good bonuses to our men-at-arms. And also, we arranged marriage with, I think it was originally one of our prisoners, and then we convert her faith and culture, or at least attempt to, by educating her. Oh, and you know, during our travels, you know, doing some contract work, and I'm not covering it because we just covered so much of it last time. And yeah, it started to get to really repetitive for me to watch, so yeah. Anyways, we won that brawl, and of course now, just as you saw, we have finally been able to turn our betrothal into a marriage. And we're going to try to romance her, just to get a higher chance of having kids, because our character is a lunatic and he'll probably die young, to be honest. So we kind of need to get a kid pretty fast. And there's that. We stand as one event where, like, you get surrounded by rival troops or something like that, or they won't help you. But we made it through that and got organizer, which is pretty nice. And after saving up some money, we're going to actually spend it on hunts. And the reason for this is we're trying to get our prestige back into the positive, because we can't even begin to make progress on restoring our levels of fame with negative prestige. And so we just keep doing events with our money that hopefully will give us some random events or just give us some plain prestige. And these pilgrimages, I think it's this character that starts this. These pilgrimages start a weird trend in our characters where they start feeling like after this guy that he was like the holiest man in the world, which is so funny because he really doesn't do a whole lot, I don't think. Spoilers, but you know, compared to the other characters, he's not that crazy of like a legend, you know. He's not that legendary, I mean. But after that pilgrimage, I guess his descendants really started to take a focus on religion for some reason. And you'll see that later on. But also, we have an heir. So that's good, we had a child. We're doing this combat situation. I mean, combat event where you're like hunting the criminals or whatever in a contract. And of course we win. I don't know why I showed that. But honestly, I'm going to leave in some of my mistakes just because I feel like it adds a little bit more personality, especially as I am a pretty monotone person. And also, we were talking about Bulgaria last episode. That's going to become pretty important as we are, in this episode, going to become pretty involved with Bulgarian politics as we join a revolt against the Bulgarian crown. And once we land in the mainland, we immediately start trying to get into a battle with their troops since we do have superior forces. In this case, Bulgaria has already like split in half by this point. The old king, I think, bankrupted himself in war or something. And then I think it split in half whenever he died, if I remember correctly. So that's why Bulgaria is a lot weaker than they used to be. And so now we're fighting the main Bulgarian army, which is also led by the Bulgarian queen. And yeah, we destroyed them. I mean, we took some losses, but like we won the battle pretty easily. And so now, I realize also that I am basically just stuck in enemy territory. And so I need to do some sieges. So we just siege those areas until we can kind of get out. However, we win the war before we even finish the siege, and so the Bulgarian Orthodox uprising is successful and a bunch of territory splits off from Bulgaria. And now we're doing a legendary hunt, I believe. Just again to get more prestige, and we have actually made quite some progress on prestige. We went from being 3,300 in the hole, and yeah, we failed the legendary hunt, which we're literally like a random adventurer. Of course, we're probably not going to be able to hunt a legendary animal, but we've made quite a lot of progress on prestige. We're now at negative 1965 instead of negative 3,300. So that's pretty nice. But I would say the work in Lecce, is it Lecce? Lis? I don't know. But the work in southern Italy was not super great, so I decided to move my camp back over to Constantinople and start doing some contracts there. And during our time, this is kind of on a random part, but during our time in Constantinople and working around the area, we also did get typhus, and then we recovered. So I don't know, I thought that was cool to mention. And it wasn't like an immediate recovery. We actually survived for quite a bit on your character is near death, so it was nice to survive that. Our character did almost die from typhus. So, and one of our kids dies in a fire along the way to one of our contracts, and thankfully we do have 2 children by this point, so we still have an heir. And also it wasn't even the heir that died. But, you know, again, just like little facts to mention, just to add to the story, even if I don't really have much to say about them. I just feel like it's important to say that they happened. And once again, after we saved up some money, another hunt to get some more prestige. And after that hunt, which was actually successful, we get a mission, we get a request to join a war as mercenaries. And so I look at this request, and since it is just a simple peasant uprising, I decide to say yes. So we're going to get quite a bit of extra money. I think that said like 150 gold, just for taking down some peasants. But we actually aren't able to just fight them head on. We do kind of have to bait them into being the attacker, just so we can get a little bit of a beneficial start there. But I'm actually able to get a pretty good position here in Apamea because of the local fort, and we absolutely just destroyed them in battle, win some war, and we get quite a lot of gold. So after dealing with that little peasant revolt in Asia Minor, I went back to just doing simple contracts, such as rescue a fair subject and stuff like that for a while. Oh, and there's this little interesting bit of lore. The wife of my half-brother with this character assassinated him. And I had her executed as was shown on screen whenever I started talking. So just a little interesting thing I thought I should leave in there, especially as a lot of this is just boring contracts. So, you know, I'm not showing a whole lot of what's going on in this kind of intermission period, I guess. I don't know. We do go on some hunts to, as stated earlier, just keep trying to get our prestige up so that we aren't in the negative in prestige, and so we can maybe try to recover our fame levels. Because, you know, fame levels are pretty important, especially for like invading land and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. And we actually have a legendary sighting during this hunt, so that's kind of cool. But we did also fail the hunt, so that's not too great, you know. And here, while we're traveling, we run into a beast and we die. And I was considering, like, it was pretty bad, like getting left with like a 7-year-old as leader of your camp and stuff. I was was like, man, is this over? Because it wasn't super far into the game. This was like maybe hour 4 or so. I was like, man, should I restart? Because like that's really bad. But we kept going with this 7-year-old character, and we're just gonna keep doing contracts because we always need the money to upgrade our stuff and buy food and all that. But also because of that, like I think one pilgrimage we took as the last character, we get Shadow of Faith, that whole event chain, and we just keep getting it after that. I don't know if it's bugged or if the maybe threshold for it happening is just super low. Of course, we need a guardian, and we will make our guardian mother, but not for very long because our mother was murdered, and we can't really even do anything about it because we are a child. And so I look for another guardian and just trying to I think I was going once again for martial because we are, you know, a mercenary group, so I think it just makes sense. And we're running a little bit low since we just spent some money, and so I decide to join a war up in Romania, just as a mercenary group. But of course, we don't really have a great general since our own character can't fight, you know. So we mainly just have like random lowborns that we picked up along the way as generals. Yeah. But it doesn't really matter since we just didn't even fight the war because it ended before we even got there. So, yeah. So I just looked around for another war, and I saw that in Bulgaria, things were getting pretty fractured. And last time we did help a little bit with that in a Orthodox revolt. And now we're helping once again in yet another revolt in order to try and remove the current king of Bulgaria. And so we just do a simple siege on their capital, which is actually already occupied by rebels of another faction. And then we get really lucky and we immediately capture the king of Bulgaria. And I was considering ransoming him for some money, but he didn't have any. And after that war, yeah, Bulgaria, as you saw, is pretty messed up. And this time, now, our character is going to move over to Epirus. And this does begin the story, well, we'll get to it eventually, but I think if I remember correctly from the game, from the campaign, I believe this spot that I moved to here was the last kind of area that we moved to as an adventure. And also there was this cool little thing where we were a kid and we figured out who was skipping out on taxes, and we made her pay half as the mayor of the place we visited. And I thought that was kind of funny that we just had like a little kid just solve a case of tax fraud. Some of the things you can do even as a kid in this game are just kind of goofy. And here begins our influence, or I guess our, I don't know how to say it, I guess we're starting to do power within Bulgaria through fighting corruption for this one duchy in Bulgaria. And I am met with the choice of, you know, supporting or not supporting the current government. And in this case, I choose to support because the money from these corruption contracts, whenever they actually work, sometimes they really just get glitchy. But whenever they actually work, like here, they're very well paying. And I didn't know what happened whenever you took the side of the peasants. So I was just doing this, like this for now. Oh, and I thought I should say that the character, this third character, is just named Gaius once again. And I believe in the war against the, in like Romania, or I think it was Bulgaria, we took a prisoner. And whenever I was reminded that they even had prisoners through a ransom message, actually decided to release her and recruit her because she's around our age, and married her into our family. Now, why did I do this? I don't really know. I think I was just worried about finding somebody to make an heir with, so I just took whoever. It's not actually Alvarade, it is going to be Natalia, you know, the 9-year-old. And of course, like, we're also around that age as well, so it's not like it's like a freaky thing that we're doing. But you know, you sometimes have to do that. CK3. But thankfully not this time. And this is also kind of whenever I started to look a lot more seriously into the other options of playing. Because eventually, you know, to form Rome, we need to become landed, and so I'm kind of looking at those options to become landed, which is why we moved to an empty holding. Because I was trying to like see if I could maybe like build one there, and I was trying to join the Duke's Wars in order to kind of get better relations with him. Because if I remember correctly, I say that phrase so much. If I remember correctly, one of the like requirements to even like build a holding from somebody's land is you have to have like a pretty decent opinion of them, which makes sense that your relations have to be good before you just have somebody's land. So I do that. And so for right now, I was focusing on trying to maybe get some money from all the stuff that's happening on in Bulgaria with corruption, war, all of that stuff, and use that money to try to set up a holding in Epirus, and obviously help out the Duke of Epirus in order to, make him let us do that. I think I just talked through this whole war. So sorry if I bored you, but I'm just explaining my process, But, after considering it, I decided that that probably wasn't the way that I really wanted to go, because I don't really know how I would expand just as a single holding unless I did like some sort of coup, but at that point, why not just do a coup without having that? Because you can do that. So I decided not to set up in Epirus, and I just started doing contracts once again, just to build up our wealth. Because I did, and we eventually, sorry, spoilers here, do end up becoming landed with this specific character, and I did want it to happen because I did want it with this specific character because of the other two characters dying at relatively young ages. I was like, yeah, it doesn't seem like the dynasty can last very long as an adventurer dynasty. Or maybe it could, but like all the characters dying super young and stuff like that is kind of like, which makes it pretty hard. So it's like, might as well do it. We have a young ruler that we can like max stuff out with, and yeah. And now we get yet another fight corruption mission, contract. And as you can see, 265 gold for that is ridiculous, and that's why we do it. And we stayed loyal once again to our contractor and make a pretty decent chunk of money from it. And we just keep doing some contracts as we are a child with this character. I get the same as last time. And so, because of that, I might not commentate a whole lot on the life of Gaius II, just because it's a lot of what we've already seen. However, there was one thing that we got done that was pretty cool during Gaius's childhood, which is we got some siege weapons. So that's cool. Lets us take down cities and forts way easier than before. And now Captain Gaius II has finally become an adult. And we didn't end up getting a super great education trait, but at least we got an education trait in the martial lifestyle. And with that, we're going to immediately start going into the martial lifestyle as an adult. And we're also just extremely stressed out at the beginning of our adulthood, and now we're going to just do some stuff to increase prestige, because one of the options I was thinking of for becoming landed was, of course, invading kingdom title or something like that, and we need quite a lot of, we need like level 3 fame for that, I believe. And so we successfully actually hunt a bear, not a bear, a boar, right? Yeah, boar. I was gonna say it's like a bear. I don't feel like I remember that. Yeah, we successfully hunt a boar, which is nice for prestige and, great artifact to have for later whenever we get a court. And now some camp revelry, just for the same reason. Well, actually not for the same reason. It was to reduce stress, because I didn't want to accidentally get to stress level 3 and get like a heart attack or something, because that has a chance to happen whenever you get stress level 3. And now we're going to do a pilgrimage, just because, well, mainly I wanted to do a pilgrimage actually to travel around and go to specific sites. And you'll see here that I had a huge list of places we were going to on our route to Alexandria, which is the area we're going to for the pilgrimage. And this is because you get like lifestyle points whenever you visit specific sites across the map. And so it's trying to like maximize that, especially smaller lifestyle points, because I want to eventually be able to buy claims. And that's also another reason we're going on pilgrimage, is to get the piety that you need to buy claims in the first place. So yeah. And unlike last character, where we went down the overseer path, we're going to go down strategist for our martial lifestyle. And strategist is just going to be quite a lot better. I think the reason I did it last time was because I saw some of those bonuses that were like recover troops and stuff like that, but that never worked for some reason. So we're just going back to the old strategist path. And now with the pilgrimage over, I kind of just take a look around the map. Kind of interesting. The Safarid Empire, well, it became an empire, I believe, and conquered quite a lot of territory. But at this point, whenever I'm showing it, it's already split up a bunch. There's also the Chola in southern India, and just a lot of interesting stuff that's going to be coming up in the next few episodes. But for now, we're going to end that, and in the next episode, we are finally going to become a landed character, and I think it's going to be a pretty interesting story to get into. So I'm excited for that, and I hope you all have stayed with me until the end of this video. And if you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, well, don't leave a like then. And yeah, if you want to see more like this, subscribe. I'll see you all in the next episode.